This is Flashpoint. If you're unfamiliar, it's a TV show on Kenneth Copeland's Victory Network. It's a far-right extremist nutcase TV show owned and operated by Kenneth Copeland. By the way, while we listen to these people say their absolutely insane stuff, we're going to play some Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm just playing a mini game, so there are no spoilers or anything.
Well, my question to you guys is, and John, you in particular, is what is the remedy? What is the remedy that's being sought here? It can't be fiscal damages. It also has to be some kind of checks and balances that are put on our intelligence communities manipulating media.
Yeah, and I think that they're going to get to that. In this case, we're going to get to that in just a second. I want to show you first this clip from Jim Jordan because it's from the case that happened.
Jim Shorts Jordan, is that who we're talking about? We talking about the same guy who was like, what was he? Was he a coach? I think he's a coach, right? And at this, like, at a high school. And he was fully aware that somebody was like the coach players, the students. He's fully aware that this is taking place. And he completely ignored it. Are we talking about the same Jim Shorts Jordan, right? I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Earlier today. Watch this.
I just came from the argument. I will tell you that there was one line that I still can't believe Judge Jackson said this, but she actually said to the Solicitor General from Louisiana, she said, "You've got the First Amendment hamstringing the government." Now think about that.
What?
That's the whole stinking purpose. Like, it's supposed to, the government's not supposed, I mean, the fact that you have a person on the United States Supreme Court make that statement in the arguments on a case about censorship and the First Amendment, just like, I'm like, at one point I don't even know what to say. Like,
yes.
How could she make that statement?
That's like
it's
saying
crazy.
The problem with the Second Amendment is it's going.
Oh my God, dude. Did Jim Shorts Jordan go on, what's his name, on Steven Crowder? Holy shit, dude. That's somebody that we haven't watched in a while. We need to watch some Steven Crowder, shouldn't we?
Going to make the government afraid of coming to your house to take your guns away.
It's crazy to me.
Crazy to me
that we've got Supreme Court justices that can't understand basic things. I guess we shouldn't be surprised if you can't define what a man and a woman is, then maybe you can't.
Okay, everybody can define what a man is and what a woman is. You live in a fantasy, okay? Please come back to reality with the rest of us. Honestly, I don't even think this guy lives in a fantasy. I think he knows exactly what he's doing. I think he's a propagandist.
Can't define basic things in the Constitution. So let's go back to both of you on this before we go to the next story. Lance, I want to ask you with that, how do you process this? How do you tell people what to do about this issue?
Simplify the complex. It's always our job, John. We have to simplify the complex. Then we have to, like you always say, put the cookies on the lowest shelf, make it accessible. But then we have to highlight what's extraneous from what's important.
Yeah.
Is Kate Middleton, is she being photoshopped? Not an important story right now. What's important?
If you don't know what that's about, what he's referring to is it's been a while since Kate Middleton has been seen in public. And some people treat like the royal family as really, really special. Like there's somebody important. And they want to know everything about the royal family at all times, everywhere, always. And like Kate Middleton, apparently she's like she's part of the royal family. I don't know exactly what the deal is or how she's related to the royal family or whatever, but she's part of them. And it's weird and suspicious that she hasn't actually been seen in public in like a while, like a long while. So the royal family released a picture of her to social media saying, "Oh, we're the kids, the husband, we're all fine." And it turns out that photo is like photoshopped and it's kind of weird. AP News removed the image because it was photoshopped. Now, it could have just been basic photoshopping. Like sometimes people Photoshop images just because that's what they do. Like sometimes they'll Photoshop images to give themselves more, they'll put their eyes closer together, or they'll make them bigger, or they'll make their hands smaller or more attractive in some way or whatever. I mean, these things happen, whatever. But the AP News doesn't normally remove images for it. It's kind of weird that they did that. So there's no way of knowing why the AP News removed them, or removed that image from their thing, or where Kate Middleton is and why she hasn't been made a public appearance. Hell, maybe Kate Middleton just doesn't want to be a public person right now. That's okay. I get it. That's fine. You don't have to be a public person if you don't want. It's just kind of suspicious, is all. And people who follow the royal family like a cult are kind of suspicious of what's going on, understandably. So anyway, that's what he's talking about.
Highlight what's extraneous from what's important.
Yeah.
Is Kate Middleton, is she being photoshopped? Not an important story right now. What's important is the Supreme Court, someone sitting on the Supreme Court saying, wait a second, your individual protection is getting in the way of government controlling you. Wait a minute. Your individual right to speech is getting in the way of the government suppressing your speech. I mean, you can't have it both ways. The fact that you've got someone on the Supreme Court making that argument tells you something. Socialism, remember this, go back to Germany with Hitler.
There is no socialism in the United States. There is no communism in the United States. There just isn't. You can pretend there is all you want. There's just not. Name a single person who has genuinely espoused any socialistic or communistic positions in the United States that is a federal representative or even a state representative. Hell, name more than one. This whole thing is insane. These people they're trying to spark a new McCarthyism right now, which is sad. Guys, get over yourself, okay? They're trying to start a new McCarthy era thing. If you don't know McCarthy or McCarthyism, it was a time in U.S. history where you could accuse your your neighbor of being a communist and very easily get them put in jail or get them investigated by a federal committee, get them investigated by a congressional committee. It wasn't good. McCarthyism was not good at all. And these people are setting out to create a brand new McCarthyism. It's really, really disturbing the way they're doing everything that they're doing. It's holy shit, dude. They're trying to bring us to a point in history that was genuinely ugly in American history. Oh my God. You really want to bring us back to that? What the hell is wrong with you people?
Socialism, National Socialism, fascist National Socialism is when the government controls the corporations and they work together.
No, I think that's communism technically. What he's defining right now is where I believe the government officially owns all all private business and works with private companies to create something that's kind of a hybrid type of situation. That's what communism kind of is, for lack of a better term. What are you even going on about right now? Is it all just fear-mongering with this guy? Yep, they want to go back to the 1930s. Apparently so, says KJ Dog Love. Yeah, Apparently they do. I guess they do want to go back to the 1930s. Like, what? Were the 1930s not bad enough? Was all of this stuff that you're listing right now, is this like not bad enough for you? Oh my God. How can you possibly say you want to go back to this stuff? This is nuts.
Socialism, National Socialism, fascist National Socialism is when the government controls the corporations and they work together to control the people.
No, that's kind of a bastardized description of communism. It's not even accurate, but okay.
This has got to be broken up now.
So, Floyd, you've been, a great point, Lance. Floyd, you've been following this for a minute. You understand all of this. What is the dream outcome here? What do you predict might happen with the Supreme Court, and what's the best thing that can happen for the Constitution and for free speech?
Yeah. Well, the dream outcome is that the U.S. Supreme Court would do its job and would enforce the United
Oh, it's buffering. Is that me?
Supreme Court would do its job and would enforce the United States Constitution. The Constitution is clear. The government should not be suppressing or controlling or gagging any private individual. That is against the U.S. Constitution.
Well, maybe some gagging going on, but okay, go on.
And so they should not be hiding behind tech companies to do it. They shouldn't be hiding behind big government agencies to do it. Fundamentally, what we need is to have an order go down, and the federal government and the local governments need to be told clearly, in no uncertain terms, the Constitution of the United States does not allow you to gag your citizens.
I think anybody who wants to be gagged can be gagged.
Citizens have a right to speak out and say what they believe in the public square.
Oh, yeah. Stand up on a street corner and say whatever the hell you want. Nobody's stopping you from doing that. Freedom of speech does not mean freedom of reach. They're very different from each other, okay? You don't have a right to somebody else's, some other company's algorithm that is going to push you further in their whatever, like in their systems. You don't have a right to that. They don't even have to have you on their platform legally. They can do whatever the hell they want because it's their platform.
I like that. I like that a lot. And I think that's why we're seeing the Elon Musk of the world. I like how even Lance tied together Twitter. Some of these people are willing to go to great lengths of their own finances to give us free speech. You see Tucker doing this. I mean, he gets fired over trying to be a journalist, and now he's being...
Totally. He gets fired over trying to be a journalist. Absolutely. For the record, Tucker Carlson's not a journalist, nor was he ever a journalist. Journalist has never been part of his repertoire. He's a political commentator. There's a distinct difference. He's a propagandist, really, but being generous, I'll call him a political commentator. If you have any kind of bias, I didn't realize there's another battle here. If you have any kind of bias whatsoever, you're not a journalist, you're a political commentator. I am a political commentator because I have a left-wing bias, and I'm okay with that. I embrace it. That's who I am. I'm perfectly fine with that, you know? That's okay with me. But Tucker is not a journalist. He's just not. Grow up, people.
Being a free speech journalist, it's like he's set free. And let me shift our focus, because this ties back to what you just said, Floyd. President Trump gave a speech literally earlier this week, and we're going to show you a little clip of this, and then we're going to talk about what the media does with the clip. They take one word, they take it out of context, and
he's talking about clip chimping, and yeah, you think that the left is the worst about this? Yes, the left does clip chimp. That's true. I'll give him that. The left does a lot of clip chimping. You think the left is the worst about it?
So I want you to watch this clip first, and then we'll get both of you to comment on it.
Mexico has taken, over a period of 30 years, 34% of the automobile manufacturing business in our country. Think of it, went to Mexico. China now is building a couple of massive plants where they're going to build the cars in Mexico and they think that they're going to sell those cars into the United States with no tax at the border. Let me tell you something to China. If you're listening, President Xi, and you and I are friends, but he understands the way I deal, those big monster car manufacturing plants that you're building in Mexico right now, and you think you're going to get that, you're going to not hire Americans, and you're going to sell the cars to us now, we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole, that's going to be the least of it. It's going to be.
Yeah. So Donald Trump said it's going to be a bloodbath. That's not a good thing to say. Let's step back and listen to the context just a little bit again, just 10 seconds, and keep listening here.
And you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole, that's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it.
So he said, I have this plan to get one over on China. I want to get one over on China. Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country because I can't do this thing that I plan to do for China. But that's going to be the least of it, is what he said. But that's going to be the least of it. I mean, yeah, the China stuff, that's going to be bad, but that's going to be the least of the bloodbath. There's going to be more than just that. That was very clearly Donald Trump's intent. He obviously intended to say there's going to be a bloodbath in the United States if you don't reelect me. Not because I can't do what I want to do with President Xi or whatever, but because there's going to be a bloodbath, because I'm going to cause a bloodbath among other people, because I'm going to tell my supporters to do this psychotic, unhinged shit. That's why there's going to be a bloodbath. That's very obviously what he was saying. Am I missing something? How do people not pick up on this? Really?
Of it, but they're not going to sell those cars. They're building massive factories. A friend of mine.
So you see what he's saying here, Lance. He's talking.
Yeah, he's saying there's going to be a bloodbath if you don't reelect me. It has nothing to do with Xi. He set the Xi stuff aside. He said there's going to be a bloodbath if you don't reelect me because I have plans for President Xi. I mean, the plans aside for Xi, I mean, all of that stuff aside, there's going to be a bloodbath if you don't reelect me. That's what he said. Are you kidding? How is this defensible at all? Really? My God, people. They're full-blown cult members, aren't they? There is like no saving these people.
Talking about the automobile industry, he's talking about China, he's talking about Mexico. He's talking.
Yeah, originally, and then he said, forget about Xi, there's going to be a bloodbath. There's going to be a bloodbath in the country. They really don't see that? You can't tell me they don't see that. These people are just propagandists, right? They're just propagandists trying to convince gullible suckers, grandma and grandpa, that Donald Trump isn't a fascist. Why are they even bothering? Hasn't Donald Trump admitted to that? It seems like he has.
Comment all these things. Look at this cartoon. I want to just frame this first and then get you to comment, Lance. I don't know if we have that we can pull up here where President Trump, what he said is, if I'm not reelected, there's going to be a blood.
That's not what happened. That's not what was said. Even the clip that they showed very clearly outlined what the dude said. What he said is that there's going to be a bloodbath in the country one way or another, whether, outside the automobile or whatever, there's going to be a bloodbath if you don't fix this, if you don't set it right. If you don't elect me, there's going to be a bloodbath. That's what he said. Are you really not seeing what he did? What he, are you really not seeing his plans here? Are you really oblivious? Seriously?
Bloodbath in the automotive industry. And what actually gets said by the media and what they're going to spin it, we're going to unpack this. If I'm not reelected, there's going to be a bloodbath. This, again, is like the January 6th narrative, Lance.
Like the January 6th narrative. Like it's a narrative. Yeah. It was totally a narrative. Yeah. People were just completely 100% innocent. They didn't do anything to anybody. They were just at the Capitol hanging out. Okay. They were leaning against the building, smoking a cigarette. And out of nowhere, police just come up and they arrest them for touching the Capitol. And they call them terrorists. Because they're terrorists, for smoking a cigarette by the Capitol. Ugh. They so mistreat the Capitol people. Give me a break, people. Like, my God, these people live in an alternate reality, the likes of which I can't even begin to touch. It's insane. Honestly, I don't even think these people believe it, truthfully. I think these people are lying. I think they know exactly what they're doing. I think they know that they are propagandizing for the right and just completely full of shit from beginning to end. I honestly believe that. I don't think they believe a word out of their own mouths. But okay.
Talk to us about what's happening here and more importantly, how should people get their news besides signing up at Flashpoint? But how should they also perceive these things when they're happening to us, Lance?
Yeah, remember the comedian Kathy Gibbons there was holding a head of Trump there, disembodied, and it was going to be like, and it was.
Yep, I remember that. Kathy Griffin, she famously had the disembodied head of Donald Trump. That was very controversial among the left and among the right. It may not have been the best idea for her to do that, but it caught people's attention. That's for sure. It caught people's attention. It was just like a like a clay animated image of Trump being like his head being held up. So like I don't know what they're complaining about. Like nobody defended that, left, right, center, nobody. So they're just like bringing it up to try to blame people for stuff. Like it doesn't even make any sense. But okay.
It's like that was the liberal response to Trump. Then there was the New Yorker.
That was not the liberal response. That was Kathy Griffin's response to Trump, okay? Give me a break. These people are ridiculous.
Article where Trump's at the bottom of an escalator and his red tie is poured out next to his head like he got shot and assassinated. Then he got nutjob Keith Olbermann over there.
Dude, I have no idea what they're talking about. Nutjob Keith Olbermann? What? Dude, Keith Olbermann is like one of the most trustworthy journalists in America, isn't he? And he has been for like generations. Are you unironically calling Keith Olbermann nutjob? Are you kidding? Okay, go on.
Calling for
keep digging this hole for yourself. Go on.
Assassination. You see, the left.
He says he was calling for Trump's assassination. What? Keith Olbermann called for Trump's assassination. Really? You trying to tell me that Keith Olbermann called for Trump's assassination?
is loaded with demons. And those demons project on everyone else what they secretly are all about. So they're a violent group. They're the Antifa crowd. They're the BLM crowd. They're the riots in your cities crowd. They're the tear down the statues, burn down the police precinct people.
Okay, I just want to put this on record. I live in New York City, okay? Which, by the way, is where everybody claimed like BLM was destroying everything. No, it wasn't. BLM is not destroying everything here. Everything is fine. In fact, New York City is actually really clean and nice, as it turns out. Like it's a really nice city here. Like I'm perfectly comfortable walking down the street. I live in Harlem. Or at the very least, I live on the border of Harlem. And I walked down the street at like 11 o'clock at night the other night because there's this little place that's like, it's a 24-hour place. And it's right down the street for me, like literally the next block. It's 24-hour. And I needed something. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to run down to that place and I'm going to grab the thing. And I went there, 11 o'clock at night, middle of Harlem, and I was fine. There were no questions. There were no questionable characters. There's no weird shit going on. Everything was fine. Everybody just, there were a few people on the street. They just went about their business, whatever. Did their thing. Not a big deal. We moved on with our lives. New York City is not the hellscape it's made out to be by these people. Burn down your cities stuff. That's all nonsense. That's not happening. It's fabricated. It's completely made up. New York City, I mean, I understand that LA is probably a little bit different because it's the kind of place that's a little more common for homeless people to go to because it's a little easier to live homeless in LA than it is anywhere else because it's warm year round basically to begin with. And aside from all of that, in New York City there is a rule. There's like a thing that exists. There is a bed for you if you are homeless. There's a bed for you. Always. Everybody has a bed. That's how it works in New York City. If you're homeless, you have a bed. It's a law. In a shelter. I don't remember the last time I saw a homeless person on the street in New York City. I mean, there are people in Times Square holding signs and stuff like that, but that's not homeless. That's just people holding signs. That's very different. You can go to the bed that they have for you in the shelter at the end of the day and go to sleep in the little bed that they have there for you. And that's the end of it. Boom, you're done. There are no homeless people wandering the streets of New York City. There's no, like, all this crime and everything. I haven't seen any crime. Literally, I've seen no crime. I walk down the street all the time. I live in Harlem, practically. Not quite in Harlem. I live on the outskirts of Harlem. I've passed some areas that were a little bit scary to pass for me before. And everything was fine. I just kept my head down. I just kept on walking, and nobody robbed me. Nobody asked me questions. Nothing. I just went about my business and they went about theirs. That was about it. New York City is a perfectly safe place to be. But people like this seem to think it's like some kind of a hellscape. Like any 5 minutes you're going to be mugged. I've never been mugged. I've never seen anybody mugged. Never seen anybody stabbed, never seen anybody shot, never seen anybody anything. New York City is a perfectly safe place to be. And I'm talking Manhattan, okay? This is like the heart of the city. 1.5 million people live in Manhattan. 4 million people are in Manhattan at any given moment. Like 2.5 million people are like tourists, obviously. And people like this, like Lance Walnut, are obsessed with the idea that Manhattan is some hellscape that, like, you know, that like people are going to be robbed like any 5 seconds now. Like, come on, man. Are you kidding me? Really? These people never like been outside of their little bubble, have they? They have no idea what they're talking about, do they? It's an embarrassment. Okay, go on. Tell me about the hellscape that is New York City and how bad all these other places are and how scary it is to be in these liberal Democrat-run cities and blah, 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 blah. Go on.
And then there they accuse you that you might even think about doing the same thing. So I look at all that stuff and I just say, what you're doing now is and what that cartoon is doing is the answer. Did you notice that Jim Jordan was on Steve Crowder?
Wait, I'm sorry. Jim Jordan. Are we talking about Jim Shorts Jordan? Dude that knew about kids being by somebody and then specifically chose not to do anything? Specifically chose to just clamp it and not report it, just let it happen, let these kids be mistreated. Are we talking about the same Jim Shorts Jordan? I want to make sure, because there are multiple Jim Shorts Jordan. I just want to make sure we're talking about the same Jim Shorts Jordan. Okay. About Jim Shorts Jordan?
The answer. Did you notice that Jim Jordan was on Steve Crowder? This is the buried lead in that segment. What's happening now is the Joe Rogans and the Steve Crowders and the Flashpoints. Legacy media has so little credibility that they have a big mouthpiece, but nobody's listening to them.
That's right.
So a majority of Americans are going, and then they're going over to us, and they're going, what do you?
No, people are listening to them. People are listening to mainstream media, like a lot. You may not like that people are listening to mainstream media, but it's happening. Mostly older folks, mostly people with cable packages. Hell, people watch the CNN, the CNN Facebook page or YouTube page all the time. Now, these legacy media websites are being listened to, whether you like that or not. It's happening. I don't like it. I'm independent media. I would prefer people listen to me instead of CNN, but okay.
You say. And when they hear Crowder or they hear Steve Bannon on War Room, the left is always freaked out at the ability of conservatives to get a message out. That's why they tried to shut down talk radio when Rush Limbaugh started it, because they can't handle free communication that they don't control at the corporate level. So I say they're going to increase.
Okay, who is they, by the way? You keep saying they. Who are you talking about when you say they? What do you mean, they? What does they mean exactly? By the way, this is called weasel words. Anytime you hear the word they, anytime somebody like this uses the word they, be skeptical, okay? You can't trust when people use the word they, because I honestly have no clue what they're even talking about. Like, who is they? Is it like the cabal, or is it what, like legacy media? What are you talking about, they? What do you mean they?
Increase this, but I think it's different now. I think in the Twitter sphere, the Tucker sphere, the Rogan sphere, the Russell Brand, I think we've all got a big voice now, and every time they do that, if we mock it, it loses its power.
So let's do this. Let's look at a sample from ABC, kind of how they just out of the box spin this automobile industry comment.
Bruce, in
Automobile industry comment. I'm not sure what he's talking about.
For Lindsay Davis. We begin tonight with the race for the White House and former President Trump's campaign now on the defensive after his fiery rhetoric at a rally in Dayton, Ohio on Saturday night. Trump warning while discussing the economy that there would be a, quote, bloodbath if he is not reelected in November.
Yes. Donald Trump did say that, absolutely. And it was disturbing as hell. He said there's going to be a bloodbath if I'm not reelected. I don't know how you can get around that. Yes.
This after the former president kicked off the event by paying tribute to those who attacked the U.S. Capitol on January 6th.
Yep, he did what was it? It was something special. It wasn't the national anthem. It was the January 6th national anthem or something like that. It was some special national anthem that only exists to put a puff in the petticoat of the January 6th people. Oop. Did I? Oh, I accidentally hit M.
President Biden's campaign swiftly denouncing those comments as threats of political violence.
And threats of political violence, let me show you.
Damn, I need 900 more. I should have killed, if I had killed 3 more enemies, I would have hit it. Target score is 32,000. That sucks. I need to hit this, 32,000.
Comments as threats of political violence.
And threats of political violence, let me show you the comment from Biden and Harris. I'll just read this to you tonight.
Okay, so they're going to give us political threats from Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. All right, let's hear these alleged political threats from Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. Go on.
Donald Trump said there would be a bloodbath if he wasn't elected, and that if he lost, there would be no more elections. After opening in the general election by meeting with authoritarian leaders, rallying alongside conspiracy theorists, he continues to praise dictators and promise pardon to political violence, talking
That's correct.
about people who walked through the Capitol January 6th, who were listening to a political speech, launch racist attacks against black and brown Americans. They always got to make it about racism. And why last night Trump's own Vice President Mike Pence, whose supporters called on...
Like, that was a ridiculous thing to say, but I'm not even going to bother addressing it right now.
...him to hang him, said he's not going to come out and support Trump. This is who Donald Trump is, and they go on and on and on. Floyd, let me ask you out of this. This is just the first we're going to see. We don't have time to cover all of it. Do you agree with Lance that everybody's going to be getting their media from somewhere else? Or do you think these people still have...
Dude, I love when they say this. Do you agree with blank? Of course they agree with whoever they're talking about. Of course they... Are you kidding me? Literally everybody on this program agrees with literally everybody else. Yes. Whoever they just asked agrees with Lance. Yes. This is nothing but like a stroke fest. They're about how right they are. That is like literally all they're doing here. Go on.
That everybody's going to be getting their media from somewhere else? Or do you think these people still have clout, or the only people listening to them are the radical left?
Well, they still have clout because of the...
Well, the only people listening to like MSNBC or CNN or whoever else are older people with cable packages. And you know who has cable packages? Old people. People who don't really know this newfangled internet thing, don't understand it, don't have any idea what it is or how to use it, and are kind of set in their own ways, and they like all of their old stuff. They like all the... God, I can't believe... That's annoying. You know, I should be using triangle more instead. I think that might be my problem. Anyway. Anybody who's old or older, 40 to 60, we'll say. 40 to 60 years old. Anybody that's 40 to 60 years old, that's not even that old. Hell, anybody that's 40 or older is going to be watching like MSNBC or CBS or CNBC or CNN or whoever, any of the other C companies, whoever that happens to be. They're going to be watching that stuff. Yes, absolutely. And they're going to be getting their ideas from it. And guess what else they're going to be doing? Anybody over that age that's watching this stuff. they're going to be crawling over broken glass to vote for their guy, whoever it happens to be. That's what these people are going to be doing. So, yeah, legacy media may not seem important to you, allegedly, but it's most definitely important to anybody above 40.
The money. I mean, the truth is that all of the major corporations, from the Bud Lights to the Procter and Gambles to the Ford Motor Companies, they're all advertising on these legacy networks and pouring millions and millions of dollars into their coffers in order to prop up these institutions that have virtually no audience. At the same time, alternative institutions like Flashpoint or even the Western Journal, Flashpoint has to survive on donations. And the Western Journal,
What the hell is a Western Journal? Like, what are you even talking about? The Western Journal?
been under tremendous suppression and attacks on the people that actually advertise on our.
Is the Western Journal this guy's like website or something? Is that like why he's talking about it or whatever? Okay.
Platform. So this is in fact a war, but we are winning it because of our courage and our willingness to stand. And that's why I like Flashpoint so much, and why it's so important, because it gets these messages around the mainstream roadblocks to the people that have the courage of Jesus Christ to stand up and stand up tall for what they believe.
That's right. So we've heard ABC. Let's be balanced, fair and balanced here. Let's see what the Clinton.
Let's be fair and balanced. Okay, first of all, that's Fox News's slogan or whatever you call it. Second, they're not fair and balanced by any stretch of the imagination. They've never been fair and balanced. So it's kind of embarrassing that they're even using the term fair and balanced. But okay, if you're going to be fair and balanced, let's hear it.
News Network had to say about this. Watch this.
He's even predicting a bloodbath. What does that mean? He's going to exact a bloodbath? There's something wrong here. How respectful I am of the American people and their goodness. But how much more do they have to see from him to understand that this isn't what our country is about?
Exactly. Like, my God, dude, how much do the American people need to see from Trump to recognize that he is not like, yeah, sure, maybe he recognizes, or I'm sorry, maybe he, what's the word I'm looking for here? Maybe he, like, represents America to some degree. He shouldn't. Like, this is wrong. This whole thing is wrong.
Praising Hitler, praising the Russians. Honest.
So Lance, talk to me. I know you have a high respect for the goodness of everybody in America and for Nancy Pelosi. Tell me.
Oh my God, Lance Wallnow hates Nancy Pelosi. Oh my God, dude. He cannot stand her. He loves making fun of her and laughing about her, calling her an idiot. And honestly, I don't know for a fact, but I would be surprised if he didn't laugh about Nancy Pelosi and her house being like broken into by that nutcase, and her husband Paul like being hit in the head with a hammer. That's the kind of thing that like Lance Wallnau does. That's what he's all about. So anyway, I would be surprised if that's not what was happening, truthfully.
In your own words, what do you think the media is doing here at the CNN headquarters?
Oh, I remember Nancy Pelosi with her like clap, clap, clap when the president gave his speech. I wonder what would have happened if Speaker Johnson had gone clap, 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 and then after Biden.
I mean, Speaker Johnson did basically exactly the same thing that Pelosi did, by and large. He didn't, like, okay, Biden said, we are going to end cancer, okay? And you know what Johnson did? Sat there stone-faced. That's what he did. Like he did, like he didn't even want to give up, or like he didn't even want to fix cancer treatments. Like he had no interest in fixing cancer, in curing cancer. You know, wasn't it? I think that Joe Biden's son, Beau, in 2016, maybe, or no, it was before Biden left office. I think Joe Biden's son, Beau, in maybe, well, what was it, 2012? He died of cancer, which Joe Biden believed to be the direct result of like toxic burn pits, basically. Toxic burn pits were a common practice in Iraq. That's how they dealt with their refuse. Like, you know, they stick them in toxic burn. They stick them in burn pits, and they just burn all of the stuff that they didn't need or they didn't want or whatever. And it's pretty obvious at this point that shit was really carcinogenic and was responsible for the deaths of an awful lot of people, an awful lot of soldiers. So Joe Biden has made it like his pet issue to find an end to cancer, try to cure cancer, put money into curing cancer. You know, we could cure cancer tomorrow if we put enough money into it. I'm sure of it. I mean, tall claim, I know, tall order, trying to cure cancer. But if enough scientists worked on the problem together, I have no doubt, and they were paid for their work, I have no doubt we could probably solve the cancer problem pretty quickly. It wouldn't take long. So anyway, Joe Biden says in his State of the Union, I want to cure cancer. That's like one of the things that I intend to do in my administration while I'm the president. I want to cure cancer. I want to make this like a top priority, curing cancer. My son, Beau, died of cancer. I want to fix that. I want to solve that. I don't want anybody else to suffer what I suffered. I mean, you know, Joe Biden lost like so many people. He lost his entire family in what was it, like 1970? When was it? I don't even remember when it was, but he lost everybody and everything like pretty early on in his career as a senator to a car accident. Like his wife and his son and his everything, they all died of cancer. Or I'm sorry, they all died in a car accident. And then he had a new wife, Jill Biden. He got a new wife after that. And what happened? His son, Beau, died of cancer thanks to his service in the military. The dude has not had an easy life. And he says, we want to solve it. We want to take care of it. We want to make it better for people. What did Mike Johnson do? Stone-faced. Didn't clap. Didn't nothing. How do you not clap? How do you not clap for for curing cancer? How do you not clap for curing cancer? The point is, the dude's a joke.